All right, here we go. My name is Dario. We are Flutter Modena, a recognized Flutter meetup of the Flutter Meetup Network by Google. And today we will go into look a little bit on the Widgetbook, open source library that is used to catalog the widgets in a Flutter project. But Lucas will show us a little bit further.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks for the invite.
Right. Do you want to share the screen?
Sure. Shall we? Yeah, we can of course get started immediately. Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah.
I was not sure if you want to make a bigger introduction and maybe I don't know discuss something else first, but sure. I'm happy to just start sharing my screen. All right. Perfect. Should be up there.
Yes.
Amazing. So as discussed already, I'm Lucas, co-founder and CEO of Widgetbook, and today I'm happy to talk with you about how you can simplify your design systems and also your reviews with Widgetbook. I'd like to start with a question for Dario and Carmine here, or anyone else maybe in the room with you. Did anyone of you ever use Widgetbook before?
I started looking the months previous, I think November, that you had the Flutter Observable, I think.
Yeah.
And I wish to discover earlier because I started a project the last year and it was really expensive to catalog all the widgets and yes, this could be saved my life a little bit.
I have never used Widgetbook. I am sort of curious about it. It seems like it solves some issues that many projects often run into. So I'm very curious about it. But I've never used it. So I'll listen actually with great interest.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Then I'm of course happy to tell you more about it. First of all, what is important, we are really open source and community focused. I mean, as you guys know, we're building an open source package in the core. We are also hosting Flutter meetups, and we're hosting conferences, we're hosting big after events from conferences. So the picture that you can see on the left side is hosted from the after party that we usually always host after the FlutterCon in Europe. On the right side, you can see the core team. We actually grew, so there are many more now, and we also have our users. But in the end, we are not only there for just hosting fun meetups and conferences. We are actually also building something for the Flutter community, and in close collaboration with Flutter's Google team, we built an open source package that allows Flutter developers to catalog their design system, and then on top of that, we set out to build Widgetbook Cloud, which simplifies the collaboration between designers and developers, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So first of all, we're going to cover the open source package. So we're going to learn how we can build our own design system and how we can also use Widgetbook to actually build our components in isolation and are therefore able to test them a lot quicker already during development. And that's something that we see not only big Flutter teams with design systems are using, but we're also some indie hackers, for example, who are just building a Flutter app just by themselves, just as a one-person development army. You can benefit from building your widgets in isolation and testing all of your use cases in a lot quicker than usual. And on top of that, we built Widgetbook Cloud that allows you to host your Widgetbook and to automate golden tests and to then simplify design reviews.
Yes,
that's what we're going to talk about today.
I think that's the real price of the Widgetbook. The Widgetbook Cloud is amazing. I saw it a little bit, and let's go.
Yeah, awesome. But I mean, let's keep the session as interactive as possible. So in case you have any questions or anyone in the audience has any questions, just please feel free to interrupt. Dario, maybe you can be the moderator here a bit. So in case you see anyone who has a question,
Yes.
just feel free to let me know. Awesome. And with that, let's start with a little story first. So app development usually starts with a client who has an idea and a designer who needs to bring that idea to life. Once designer finally satisfied the customer, usually we need to agree on the horizon or the life cycle of the app. And in case we decide the app should stay around for at least 1 year, maybe even more years, then usually what the designer is doing initially is the designer creates a design system.
Yeah.
And design systems can be quite easily set up with Figma nowadays. I know Dario, Kamina, your teams, are they using Figma or other design tools?
Yeah.
My team use Figma, hopefully, sometimes.
Yes, the same for me. Yes, most of the clients I work with always use Figma. All the designers I work with all use Figma. Very few exceptions to that. Most of the time it's Figma.
Yeah, exactly. So for us, it's also true. I mean, we have a few thousand teams that are using Widgetbook, and there are only a very small fraction who are still using Sketch. Sometimes even some deprecated Adobe XD files, but yeah, usually it's
Adobe XD is another one I've seen.
Yes, that's a pain.
Exactly. But usually it's Figma, and in Figma, as I said, it's quite easy to do it. In Flutter, however, it's not so easy. I mean, Dario already explained it, that he had the pain of the app. And there maybe, Dario, you can explain a bit. How did you solve it? How did you build your own catalog or your own design system in Flutter?
Oh, so we don't use any catalog. That's the point. So it's a pain to know when and where you already define some widgets, and sometimes that is almost of the times you can found duplicates or even a small change. You can duplicate a widget for small changes, and you don't know where you can found already in the project. So that's the point.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, usually usually time is very limited, very constrained. So we always need to ship fast to our customers. And that's why it's usually hard to justify to either our client, if we are an app agency or a freelancer, or it's hard to justify to our product manager that we should spend some time on building our own catalog here. I mean, in case we get this time granted, what I saw or what we saw a lot of customers do in the past is they created something they called a gallery app, where they basically built their own catalog. But the issue is it lacked so many features and it was so hard to use that at some point it just wasn't maintained anymore. And then it wasn't any use to anyone. And that's why we set out to build Widgetbook. I don't know, Dario, Camino, what's your background? Are you web developers, or do you come from Android? How did you make your journey to Flutter?
Before Flutter, before Flutter, and also while developing for Flutter, I both worked as an Android developer and as a web developer. But yet, I would say I have more experience as a web developer rather than as a native Android developer. Yeah.
Also me, I started as web developer, and also I took the link to Storybook.js, and but I never saw it very well. So after that, I started doing mobile programming with iOS and after that Flutter.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean that's also the journey that I and also my my co-founder team had. So we built web apps in the past. Always use Storybook.js for bigger customer projects. And at some point, we had a customer who wanted to have a mobile app, and we said, sure. We're using React anyways. Let's do React Native, and the experience was really bad. And then it was like 2019, and my co-founder and today's CTO of Widgetbook, Jens, told me, hey, Lucas, we can try Flutter. I was like, what? So basically, I have never heard about Flutter at that point, and Flutter was still quite early. But surprisingly, it worked really well, and then we just stick to Flutter, and we got more and more mobile projects. And at some point, we had a larger customer project, and we were like, we would really love to use Storybook.js now. Yeah, and it just didn't exist. That's why we decided to build it ourselves. And then, we started hosting Flutter meetups as well in our local communities, and then presented Widgetbook to others. And back then, it wasn't open source; it was just used by us and the core team. But as other Flutter developers were quite interested in it, we basically said, "Hey, sure, let's open source it and make it available to anyone." Then people kept swarming in the server pretty much overnight. And we're like, wow, okay, other people are also interested in it. Then we started to build a company, got some merch, raised a funding round, and built Widgetbook Cloud that you can see later. But first of all, let's start.
This is a great story. This is actually a great story for actually us as Flutter Meetup developer, Flutter Meetup organizer. That's kind of the dream. You build something and someone shows you this is a cool thing I did. You find users and maybe startups maybe start, and this is a dream for a Flutter Meetup organizer. So it's a really cool story to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, I'm seeing we have a first question. You need to be a bit, Moses. You need to be a bit patient because I'm about to show you. So basically, the next slide is let's see it in action. So with the next slide, you are now gonna see how you can use Widgetbook. Let me just make sure that I have it fired up here. How do I do it? No, I don't get it. Here. Okay, wait. There we go.
All right.
Perfect. So that's the Widgetbook for one of our demo apps. And as you can see, local host build. So what we're seeing here is a macOS. Sorry, not a macOS. It's a web build that I made. So we recommend our users to either run it on desktop. If you do so, you have the chance of using hot reload, but you can also run it as a web build. Up to you. And what you can then do with Widgetbook is you can use it to easily preview each and every widget that you build. You can, for example, catalog your foundation elements of your design system, meaning, first of all, your colors, your design system radius, your design system spacing, or your text styles. But what you can do as well, you can also catalog your atoms, speaking from a design language. So your card widget, for example, or a counter. So in the end, very simple widgets. But what you can do as well is you can use Widgetbook to preview and catalog more complex widgets. For example, a basket card. From a design language, speaking a molecule. So basically a widget that consists of multiple atoms. And you can even go as far as cataloging entire pages in Widgetbook. And you have the chance to decide if I only want to showcase one use case or multiple use cases. And for the basket view, we for example, have one use case empty and another use case non-empty.
I'm crying inside because this saved my life last year. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I mean, it's never too late, you know. So now you have it, and after the presentation, you can immediately get started if you like.
I don't think, but I try. I will try, but I don't think so.
Awesome, and I mean everything that you can see here is interactive. I mean, it's in the end a Flutter web build, right? So it's not only that you can see how it looks, but you can also feel how it looks. So I can, for example, add some mangoes here and see that the total is going up. Oh.
That's very, very cool. But I don't know if this can support many state managements like Riverpod, block.
Yeah, I mean, what is important, and that's why I'm gonna jump in the IDE now. So I mean, we are at a Flutter meetup, so it's not only about showing the fancy features, but let's look under the hood and basically see how you can
We love the
how you
code.
can build it. And first of all, what's quite important is you need to decide if you are using Widgetbook in a monorepo structure or not. For everyone who have not heard about a monorepo structure yet, what is usually useful if you have a project that should stay around for more time, then you first of all decide, hey, I want a design system, but then usually a monorepo setup makes sense because it allows you to in the end divide your project into let's say different categories that can then easily be reused, and that's why this presentation also follows a monorepo structure here. So what you can do is basically next to your lib folder, you can have your Widgetbook folder. You could also use it, call it your catalog or component library or design system. In our case, we said Widgetbook, but I'm of course biased here.
Yes.
And then inside that Widgetbook folder, we would have a new pubs.yaml file. And in here, the first thing that we would do is we are using the Widgetbook dependencies. So first of all, Widgetbook annotation, and then Widgetbook generator. And as the names are suggesting, we have an annotation-based code generator that help you to catalog your widgets, and also to then always keep the Widgetbook maintained and up to date. And how you would then get your widgets in Widgetbook is you let's take as an example something simple. So our icon button here, for example. So how you get your widgets in Widgetbook is you're writing an add use case annotation, and that annotation has two required parameters. One is name, and the other is the type. The name, in this case, we only have one use case, so we just call it default. The type is the icon button. So basically, the type is just the widget that you'd like to return or that you'd like to preview in Widgetbook. And then you can optionally provide a design link. That is going to be important for Widgetbook Cloud later, because it's going to help you to easily compare your Flutter widget to your Figma design. But for now, we can ignore it.
That's very cool. Wow.
I'm curious to see that as well.
And this is a function?
So basically what we have here now is a method. And this method is building this use case. And in here, we are just returning our icon button. And what's now important is, with Widgetbook, very similar to writing tests, you need to mock the required parameters. For example, we need to mock here an icon and the onPressed function. And once we do it, we run the build runner again, then that use case is added to Widgetbook and can then be viewed in the UI. So if we now check, for example, for the icon button here, that's exactly what we just built. And then we have one other annotation, and that is our add app annotation. And the add app annotation is important because it generates the entire surrounding structure of the Widgetbook. So basically that you do not need to build this or the side panel or this side panel. So that basically all of this is being built for you, and that is being done in the add app annotation. And that is being used in our main.dart file, where we're running our new app, because Widgetbook in the end is kind of a Flutter app inside your Flutter app. Yes. Then what you're doing, you're just returning your Widgetbook, and that's basically all you got to do. The other properties I'm going to explain in a second what they are doing, but that's the basic setup. So that in the end is a setup that allows you to first of all generate the entire structure of the Widgetbook, and is then helping you to add all those widgets to the Widgetbook.
So this is in this case is a monorepo, so it is isolated from the main app. But we can also do a section, for example, a page with our catalog and the Widgetbook.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what you could do as well is you could, for example, just go in the in your normal lib folder, and then go in the icon button, and you could just here at the top, you could also just add the use case annotation, and then basically do it like this as well.
Yes, because I'm thinking of I have already 16 projects, so I need to integrate it and I can do, I don't know why, but if I can do a monorepo structure, wow, that's very cool.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would recommend you to go for a monorepo structure because it's just going to help. It's going to help you in the long run. But if you just want to get started with Widgetbook quickly and just want to see how it works, you can also do it like this. Up to you. The user, the user is the king and can decide.
Yeah. But the client is more important.
Yeah, that's of course true.
And
okay, and then basically what I promised you is you have the chance to also test your widgets in different use cases as well, in different parameters. And I want to show you first of all why that is important. And it is important because nowadays apps need to support multiple settings. And again, Figma, it's quite easy to do it. And nowadays, what our apps need to support is we need to support all different sorts of devices. If we are an app that does not only operate in Italy, but that operates also, I don't know, in Spain, in France, in Germany, it operates in the US, operates in Asia, we need to support a lot of different languages as well. Nowadays, only light mode is a bit boring, right? So we also need to support dark mode. Then we might even have an app that, it's Flutter, so it can run anywhere. So we might even have to support mobile, desktop, web, maybe, I don't know, smartwatch. And so there might be a lot for us to support. Then accessibility, especially here in Europe, is getting more and more important as well. And in order to test all of that, it's quite difficult. So I would like to avoid that you turn into a skeleton testing all of that, and that's why I have to give you superpowers like Asterix here. And let me show you how. So we have our add-ons, and our add-ons allow you to preview your widgets in different global parameters. What I mean by that is you can choose a page here again. You can very easily test all of your widgets on different device frames. So you could, for example, test each and every widget on an iPhone 13 or with just one more mouse click on an iPad. You can also use a lot more devices. It's just a small demo app that we have here. So we only provide those 2 devices, but you could use others, and you could, for example, also go in landscape mode quickly. So a lot of different options that you can go for. You can also test your widgets quickly in different languages, for example, English or German. Test your widgets easily in different themes, light and dark mode, and much more. So it's only a small demo app, so we only have a few add-ons, but with the help of our community, there are a lot more add-ons that you could explore. And they really help you also already during development. So when you start to build your widget and you really want to make sure that it works well in all those configurations that your end users care about, you can very quickly test that with Widgetbook. I always say it's kind of an emulator on steroids because it's just a lot quicker than testing it with your usual emulator.
Wow, that's a really powerful tool. Just like that is a really powerful tool.
Yeah. And we even have something else. Oh, no, wait. First of all, let me show how easy it is to set it up. Because it's really straightforward. So let me go again in the Widgetbook folder, in the main.dart file. And in here, we have, that's where we are returning our Widgetbook. And in here, we have another optional parameter called add-ons, just a list of add-ons that it takes. And for example, for the device frame add-on that we saw, it's just a 1-line command to add another device here. So really, really easy. For the localization, I'm just need to support what locales we need to support, and what's the initial locale that we want to support. For theme add-on, I just pass here the themes in straight away. So it's quite easy to set up. And you only need to provide it once, and it's valid for all your different widgets that you cataloged.
So this is already prepared add-ons.
Yes, exactly. So these are, so you basically have different options. You can, whoops. You can either use a list of add-ons. So basically all these 13 add-ons are already supported by us out of the box, but you could also build your own custom add-on.
Very cool.
Yeah. So in case you need something else or need to, I don't know, change it a bit, easily possible.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we also have our knobs, and the knobs are now widget specific. And what is amazing about the knobs is you are technically able to, in the end, dynamically override any property of your widgets.
Please don't
So
say.
I have the primary button here, for example. What I could do is, I mean, we see the text element here. And usually, if you would like to test now as a developer, how does my button look like with a larger text input? Usually, you would go into your code and basically change the hard-coded string there.
At least in Flutter we are hot reload, so at least it doesn't take like a million years to compile the app. So at least we have that. But yeah, it would be cool to do it with something else.
Yeah, exactly. And here you can now dynamically override it. So I could, for example, say, I don't know, Flutter Modena here. And
I'm really crying inside my soul. Oh,
nice. Glad you like it. And what's even better, it is not only working for string; it works for any data type. We could
complex objects.
Sorry.
Also with complex objects.
Yeah, also objects are also supported. Yeah. So in the end, any data type here is supported. Yeah.
Wow.
And let me show you in the again in the IDE that you can see how it can be set up, because that also should be quite straightforward. So for example, for the primary button here, we have a required parameter called content, and what we could be doing is we immediately now mock it with a string immediately. But what we decide, no, we would like to use knobs to dynamically override it in the UI. And how we do it is we write context.knobs.string. Then we give it a label. The label is going to appear in the UI on the right side, and then an initial value, text, and that can be overridden. That's
You're a crazy man. It's really easy. It's a really good developer experience. Yeah.
No. Wow. Glad you like it. Yeah. And in the end, that is already it regarding the open source package. So these are all the core features. I mean, there are of course best practices and stuff that we could discuss, but that's it about the core open source package. So as a reminder again, the benefits of the free open source package are you can build your own design system with Widgetbook, and that's for developers usually even more important. You can very quickly test all of your widgets in the different use cases. You can first of all build them in isolation, and then once the widget itself works exactly as you want it, then you can use it in your bigger app. Yeah. And I mean, it's open source, so you can just get started for free if you like to.
Very cool.
Awesome. So I would be happy to perfect. So I'd be happy to jump into Widgetbook Cloud now. But first of all, are there any questions regarding the open source package?
Let's see if we have questions.
I can share. I have one question. We can share with our team in some kind of case. For example, we can host also in a private cloud or something like that.
Exactly. So I mean, I'm basically gonna present you with two options. So first of all, what you could do is what we see here now, for example. So I can go demo.widgetbook.io, and then you can just see our hosted Widgetbook here, and that's how you could set it up yourself as well. So you could easily host it yourself, but you can also use Widgetbook Cloud for it. And I'm gonna demo you Widgetbook Cloud now. And I mean, hosting is only one of the features. So in the end, if you are only interested in just having a very simple hosted version of your Widgetbook, and you already know how to set up an S3 bucket or some Firebase hosting page or whatever, yeah, then you can also use that. But if you're interested in more, let's say, specific collaboration features, then Widgetbook Cloud might be the better option for you.
Yes, of course.
Okay, and with that, let's get started with the cloud. So first of all, why are we even building it? We are building it because designer-developer collaboration is quite difficult. So what we learned, unfortunately, the hard way, but by experience, and also with our customers together, usually there are two ways on how designers and developers collaborate already today. The first part is the designer is only creating the design, the developer implements, and the designer is just not checking what was built, and it's just going to be shipped straight to production. And what is usually happening then is, as a developer, as a QA team, we might not spot that the UI is that the Flutter implementation is different from the design. What happens then is usually the user experience is not as good as it could be. And what usually then happens is customers are complaining about it. Then the designer is involved, and basically the boss is telling the designer, "Hey, what's happening here?" The designer is like, "I didn't design that." Then we basically have to.
Works on my machine, so I don't know.
Yeah. So and then we need to start from scratch and have some iterations there in a process that is basically not existing for us, and that's why most teams already are in stage 2, and stage 2 is we are already including the designer in the review process, but the way we are doing it is really cumbersome, because what is usually the case is we ship a test build to our designer via test flight, for example, and then it's the job of the designer to just go through the entire app, and we as developers usually, at least we believe to know what we changed, and then we tell the designer, look at that feature, and then what the designer would do is the designer needs to navigate through the entire app until he or she is finally at this feature, and then the designer needs to test it in all those different configurations that we just saw in the Widgetbook open source package, right? So different themes, different device sizes, and so on. And when the designer then finally reviewed and maybe found something that is an issue, how does the designer communicate feedback? Usually what happens is the designer takes screenshots, then sends the screenshot via Slack, for example, to the developer, and describes some comments to it. And then the developer needs to work with these comments. And the developer is usually like, what do I do now with the comments? And you just start over and over again in some iterations. Or what happens, we schedule a meeting with the designers. But the issue with meetings is they can only happen when both parties are available. And usually meetings are inefficient, and asynchronous processes also just scale a lot better than synchronous processes. That's why we usually want to avoid it.
This is exactly the job flow right now in my project. So
which one?
So I work in a project for a client, outside client of the company, and right now we have exactly like this flow. So we had one feature, a designer that scheduled a meeting. There are problems, but it's it's a really time-consuming task. So it's a pain, real pain.
Yeah, all the more when the reality is often designers are not like part of the same company that develops. Often they are outside contractors, so they are not always easy to track down. So yeah, and often also developers are outsiders. Like all of my Flutter experience has been as a freelancer, and so we need to match my schedule with the designer schedule, with the client schedule, and meet, and that's not always easy.
Yeah, and
Hi, Emanuele.
Nice. So, ciao. I'm always a bit confused because so I'm from Germany, so living in Berlin, Germany, with the team, and in Germany we're using ciao as well, so we basically copied from Italy, but we're using ciao to say goodbye. So we are not using Cloud to say hello.
Yeah.
That's why I thought he's already leaving.
We use it both ways. We use it both ways.
I know.
We use it as a greeting both when coming, when meeting someone, and when leaving. So yeah.
We sometimes use Guten Tag, but really
It's
sometimes.
it's a really niche thing.
Yeah.
As everyone, right?
I mean, right now it would be Buenasera, right?
Wow. That's perfect pronounced.
Thank you. Grazie mille. Okay, that's all. So from now on, I unfortunately have to proceed with English.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
That's better.
it's going to be a bit difficult. Okay, so let's see if we can solve your problems, Dario and Camille, with Widgetbook Cloud. And with Widgetbook Cloud, we want to simplify your UI reviews. And first of all, we're going to see how you can share your widgets with your entire team. So Dario, what you already asked for. Then we're going to check how we can detect all of our UI changes. And that is actually important to make sure that we really review what we need to review, because we don't need to review everything all the time. We really only need to review what changed. And then we can learn how we can review those changes. So let's start with hosting. And with that, let's go here.
Oh, I'm sorry. The previous project is an open source project that we can find in GitHub. Yeah,
exactly. And this one here as well is also publicly available.
Okay.
So everything I'm showing you is public. So so what you can see here is a demo project of ours. Was built by my co-founder and CTO Jens, and as I said, publicly available. And this one is hosted on GitHub. In case you guys or anyone in the audience is not using GitHub, no worries. So we have feature parity with GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, and Azure DevOps. So all the popular open source, all the popular Git providers are supported. In case you're using any niche provider, let us know, and we can find a solution for you as well. But usually, that we cover every use case. And
really cool.
when you're using Widgetbook Cloud together with GitHub, you have the chance of installing a Widgetbook app that we have in the GitHub marketplace. And with that, we have an integration with your checks. And that's why, regarding the hosting feature, you can set Widgetbook up in a way that you integrate Widgetbook in your CI/CD pipeline, and then whenever you're pushing a new commit to your repository, we automatically host a Widgetbook build for that on Widgetbook Cloud for you, and you have the chance then to access that build either via straight via GitHub or via the Widgetbook Cloud UI. So both is possible. So what I could do is I could go to the Widgetbook Cloud UI here. I can see a list of all the builds that happened already, and that is something, Dario, what usually you could not do if you just host it yourself, because then usually what happens is you only have the latest version always of, for example, your main or your master branch. But here you really have the chance to host every build and share every build with your team. Meaning if Camille is, for example, working on feature A, while Dario is working on feature B, you are both able to share your widget books with your team.
That's really cool.
And I can then basically access the build, and the build then first of all gives me more information, kind of where's it coming from, and how many snapshots were created. Snapshots are going to be important for the review feature later. And then by clicking on visit, I have the chance to just access the widget book.
So you can visit the widget book of that version.
Exactly.
That's cool.
And you then have the chance to either share this link with the rest of your team, or you can just invite everyone to Widgetbook Cloud and they can just access it themselves.
And this is free of authentication right now. This no require authentication. If you
it does. So basically, if I would So if I would share this with you or with anyone in the audience, I mean, you can try to open it. It won't, because you're not part of our workspace. So by default, it's protected.
Okay.
Really cool.
Yeah. And then I'm happy to show you, say, the masterpiece of Widgetbook Cloud, and that is our review feature. And here we have an integration with your pull requests. And I mean, we are all developers here in the call and in the audience, so we're all aware how pull requests are working and how we do code reviews. So in a pull request, we have a files change tab, and that tab allows us to easily do code reviews, because what's important, we don't need to review the entire repository. What we need to review is what changed.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we as developers don't even know exactly what we changed. That's why it's amazing that GitHub tells us what changed.
Yep.
And that should also be true for UI or for design reviews, because your designers or your QA testers, or also if you include your product managers in that process, they don't need to review everything you build. They don't need to review your entire app. Or if you tell them, for example, go and review feature A, who knows if you also changed something else somewhere in the UI? So who knows if really only feature A changed? And that's why we integrate with your pull requests and do something that some of our customers call like visual pull requests. So we again integrate with your checks here, and how it's set up is that by default, in case Widgetbook detects a visual change for you, because that's what we do, we detect all visual changes in your pull requests. In case we detect a visual change, your pull request
is blocked. This is blocked if you have
exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah. So by default, we block your pull request from being merged. I mean, you can set the rule as you like. So if you want to play it a bit cooler and you're not as strict, you can. You don't need to do, but we would recommend you to do it. And then again, you can either access the review here straight from GitHub, or you can also do it via the Widgetbook Cloud UI. And what you're then seeing here is a side-by-side comparison between that's how it looked before and that's how the widget looks now.
Cool would it be when we do code reviews for our clients or whatever? I mean, it would be so much easier to do code reviews if we had that.
I need to sell it to my client. That's a really powerful tool.
Yeah,
come on.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, glad you like it. And basically, what we recommend you to do is we recommend you to not only put your core components, but also your pages into Widgetbook. Because the benefit that you get then is, in case, as we see here, the primary button changed, Widgetbook will know for you as developer where else in the app was this button used. Because often, we just don't know. Often we assume, okay, we now build feature A, and you only need to review feature A, but maybe the UI was used somewhere else. And that's why we here can now see, for example, okay, this page was affected as well, and this page here was affected as well. Yeah. And if the page is more complex, like this one, it might not be so easy to spot exactly what was changed. And that's why we built a button to toggle the difference. So it's highlighted for you now in pink what was changed.
That's cool. That's really cool. Wow. Chapeau. This is amazing for discovering in very fast way the changes. Is a really clever idea.
And basically, what you can then do as well is you have the chance to compare your Flutter widgets also to the Figma designs.
That's the link that you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we used it. We used it earlier, and what we can do here is let's do it with the primary button because it's a bit easier. Unfortunately, I can now only share one screen with you. And that's why. I mean, don't try it at home like this, but you get an idea of how our users are using it usually.
Okay.
So you would do it like this, because then you can easily compare that's how it looks in Flutter versus that's how it looks in Figma. And you can even go as far as, wait, let me quickly go here. Whoops. You can also compare it to the actual Figma, or wait, go to primary button here. And then, for example, again, use the knobs, for example, as a designer. Or what we can also do here, this feature specifically suited for designers, is our inspector add-on to really inspect our widgets here in detail. To, for example, check, is the size matching, is the padding matching, font family and stuff. So I can also inspect any widget in more detail, and can of course compare it to the layouting in Figma here, for example.
I'm wondering, but isn't it, because this looks sort of like the widget inspector in the Flutter dev tools. Can't you maybe like merge like maybe some features? Since I would guess that's so open source also on their side, so I can imagine you can take
yes and no. So I would also love to have it available, but unfortunately, the dev tool inspector is only running locally. On the web, it's not working, because unfortunately the web is always
Chrome inspector.
plugging the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. And the Chrome inspector doesn't work. So the Chrome inspector just basically takes everything as one widget.
That's a Canva. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's also only for teams that need to work pixel perfect, right? And that's usually only an edge case. And in case you're curious, in the past we had an iframe here, so we had a side-by-side comparison between Flutter and Figma, right, into Widgetbook Cloud. But the issue was the designers were not able to do exactly what I just showed you. So with an iframe, you're not able to do it. So they want to inspect exactly what was used in Figma, and you just can't put it in an iframe. And that's why we said, okay, you know what? We just link you straight to Figma.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And then basically, if you want to request any change, you can just leave a comment either under your use case, or as in the pull request, you can just leave a general comment as well. And the moment we say we approve the changes, then what happens is this check here turns green, and we can then safely merge with confidence.
And also the comments are displayed here in the PR in the GitHub?
No, but it was a conscious decision to not do it. We tested it also with customers, and the issue was that in the end we want that developers and designers are working in Widgetbook here, and it just doesn't make sense to have the comments, for example, spamming the developers in GitHub. It makes sense to have everyone at a central place, and that is Widgetbook.
Because also maybe the designer like adds a comment to the widget book, and maybe a developer answers on the pull request, and the designer never gets the answer. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense to do it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do we have any questions of this workflow here?
I have one question. So, how many snapshots we can do inside one build? If there
as many as you like.
Oh, okay. There are no.
Just to give you an idea, I mean, this demo app here has 22 use cases.
All right.
So with every build, we would usually do 22 use cases only, but we have customers that have 500 use cases in their widget book. So that also works.
Really powerful. And so you can you have one snapshot, but you need to multiply that this for any kind of theme localizations. I know.
It's a good question, and that's a feature that I haven't showed you yet. So basically, by default, what we do with Widgetbook, by default, we take the snapshot here of the default configuration. What I mean by default configuration, if I select the basket card now, that's the default configuration. So we would take it on an iPhone 13 device in English, local, in a light theme, and center alignment in our case. But what you can do is you can specify in the IDE, in the app annotation, you can specify cloud add-on configurations. And these are then automatically tested. And what we, for example, said for the demo app, we want to test German and light mode, German and dark mode, English and light mode, English and dark mode. And that's why if we notice any change, we show you this change in those 4 different add-ons. And that's why also basically that's how it would look like then. So we have a change and we see it now in German light.
Yeah.
We see it in English light, we see it in German dark and in English dark. And that's true for every change.
That's really, really amazing.
Nice.
And so, well, I don't know what to say. This is a life-changing tool. So, wow, really, really powerful and really cool job that you did.
Awesome. Yeah, glad you like it. And what's even better is if we take a look at our whoops. No, it's not working anymore. Why not? Shit. I think my keyboard is empty. There we go. Pricing Widgetbook.
All right.
You can even get started for free. So there's a free plan. So 1,000 snapshots are free. And that usually allows you to properly test Widgetbook with your team to really decide, is it working as well as I demoed, or is it only working well in my demo and not working well for you? But usually you're going to see that it works at least as well as I showed to you. And then you can just basically go up the levels. And one thing that's important, in case you need any more support or more security features. So, for example, if you need single sign-on, or if you need a service level agreement with us, or if you need really dedicated support, what we like to do, for example, is to have a private Slack channel with your team and our team, or a private Microsoft Teams channel with your team and my team. We can do all of this as well, but that's then in the enterprise tier.
This is a really good choice. Wow, that's also a free. I didn't know there was a free plan. This is really cool for discovering the product.
Exactly. Yeah, and you can bring as many users as you like. So we are only charging for. Yeah, so we are only charging for the value that we are creating. So we're only charging for snapshots. So it's usage-based pricing in the end. So we have customers, for example, that have over 200 users on Widgetbook, and we don't charge them for their 200 users. We only charge them for their snapshots. Yeah.
Really, really cool. What do you think?
No, I agree. I'll actually consider it I propose to my clients look at it, because also the free tier allows us to maybe experiment with it and see if maybe it's even enough for some of my clients who are a bit smaller.
Yeah, exactly.
I see like the build time is not so low, like build storage time 14 days, build size limit 200 megabytes is the same across the board. So yeah, the free tier seems to be quite a good way to get started with it. So they'll probably start tinkering with it. I know, for example, some of the clients I work with are quite prone to tinkering with new stuff. So maybe they'll pick it up. Also because they are quite a new Flutter team, like we built up this thing very recently. So
yeah. I have one question. What's the average time of the build on the cloud, for example?
Yeah, so I mean that heavily depends on your usage of Widgetbook. So what's important is how many snapshots or how many use cases do you have in your widgets book, and how many different add-ons you'd like to automatically test. And then it also depends on what subscription you went for, because in the self-service subscriptions, so basically we always take snapshots in batches, and Here it can be the case that you're using Widgetbook, for example, that your company kind of has to share a badge with Camina's company. Could be. But if you are a part of the enterprise plan, what we can offer you is that you always have your own private badge. Then it runs, of course, faster. But to give you an idea, if you have 100 use cases in your Widgetbook, and you don't have any other add-ons, so basically 100 snapshots for your build, usually it takes 1 to 2 minutes.
So, wow. Okay, pretty fast. Yeah. And you have the response on the PR.
Yeah, I mean immediately. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just up there. Yeah.
Really, really cool.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Does anyone in the audience have questions? Musi, Emanuele, Rob already hit a few messages. Marco, Elia, even.
I don't know if
Elia, if he's still alive since he was a bit sick. Let's see.
I don't think we have any more questions. So
okay, awesome. Then let me wrap it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And with that, so basically,
while you wrap it up, maybe later we'll have questions.
Yeah, so basically, what we learned with Widgetbook Cloud is how you can share your widgets with your entire team by using Widgetbook builds. You can then detect all the UI changes by automating your golden tests or your visual UI regression tests with Widgetbook. And you can then easily review all of your changes with a structured review process. And as a bonus, I showed you how you can use multi-snapshot reviews, so how you can also automatically test your different add-ons. And with that, I'd like to give you a quote of some of our customers. So last year at the biggest Flutter conference that happened in Berlin, we had 3 selected customers with us on stage who basically gave a presentation on how they are using Widgetbook. And the presentation is also, well, the presentations are publicly accessible. So if you go here to the overview page on our docs, you're gonna find, first of all, my presentation about Widgetbook, which is similar to the one I'm giving you right now. Then you're gonna learn about a showcase from Lotum. Lotum is a small Flutter team that uses Widgetbook. Then 1,5 Grad, and that's a big enterprise company using Widgetbook. They're using Widgetbook with one design system, and that is being used in 6 different apps. And then we have the use case of Lean Code. Lean Code is a software agency. And basically, these are the 3 different use cases that we usually see that customers what customers are doing with Widgetbook. So if you're a small Flutter team, feel free to check out this presentation. If you're a larger Flutter team, feel free to check out this presentation. If you're a software agency, feel free to check out this presentation. And in the end, our customers found out that, first of all, Widgetbook serves as an insurance for you. So you will never, ever again ship any unintended UI changes that don't match your designs to your customers. So you can make sure that from now on, UI UX is gonna be perfect. And you will save a lot of time. So 1,5 Grad, for example, found out that both the developers and the designers save 20% of their time by using Widgetbook Cloud, because you're just gonna have less iterations with the team, and the iterations that you have are gonna be much shorter.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have one question that took my mind now, and is you can have access to the code of the component inside the Widgetbook. If you select, can you read the code of the component inside the Widgetbook? If you select something like the icon button, you can view the code inside the Widgetbook.
Yes and no. So basically, by default, we do not yet have such an add-on, but it's quite easy to write it yourself. But no worries. Probably in March or latest in April, it's going to be supported out of the box.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. And with that, designers and developers can dance again and live happily together ever after. If you'd like to get access to Widgetbook Cloud, just follow the website, and you can even get started for free, as we found out.
We have the last question from our public. What was the most challenging part of the development?
Yeah, it was actually getting a stable review feature. So to run these golden tests or visual UI regressions for you, that was the most challenging part.
I think so.
But we did it.
So when did you start? Like, what was the timeline actually for Widgetbook? Like, because maybe you told us. Like, when was the first time you started developing it internally? When did you present it? Like, wondering about the timeline of development and release.
Yeah, exactly. So internally, just for us, we started building in 2021, and then in 2022 we started the company Widgetbook, and then built a proper open source package. And then in 2022, we also later that year started to build Widgetbook Cloud, but back then it was only hosting of the solution, but it was good enough to get the first paying customers. With that, we then raised the funding round, hired the team that we have now, and then in 2023 we had a really well working open source package, and in 2024 we then had a very well working Widgetbook Cloud product. And in September last year, we made the general availability release. So since September last year, Widgetbook Cloud is working really well. We added the support for the other Git providers as well. So at the beginning, it was only GitHub. Now, as I said, we are supporting every Git provider, and working together with customers from all around the world, from like small, sometimes even only indie developers, so even like one person Flutter apps, to the largest Flutter teams that you know from, I don't know, some Flutter showcases.
How big is your team?
So currently we are 11 people full time. So the core team is a team of 7, and on top of that we are always working together with some freelancers that are helping us as well on and off. But that's the team size. But of course we get also amazing support from our open source community. So we have about 3,000 users now on Discord. That are actively helping as well with answering questions or contributing to the package.
And how many users do you have on Widgetbook Cloud, for example?
Yeah, so on Widgetbook Cloud, we now also passed the 1,000 mark, which we are quite happy about.
It's a milestone. Very cool.
Nice. So if no one else has any questions, I think we can wrap it up.
I think so. And so thank you very much for joining us. And this is a very, very, very powerful tool that everyone should use in the Flutter project. And I hope so in the future with my client. And we wait you for the DevFest here in Modena, or for other meetups. You are welcome. And
maybe we'll meet at Flutter Heroes.
Oh yeah, or in the Flutter Heroes.
Get a chance. Yeah. And if you have any links to share, actually, you can maybe send them to Dario, so that maybe you can share them on the group on Telegram.
Oh yeah.
Oh nice, you have a Telegram for the meetup.
We have a Telegram for,
we have
community as a little Telegram group. Not Solito, actually. There's a few hundred people, so not Solito, We have a Telegram group, so we can share links there for anyone who's interested.
We
have the QR code for the group.
We don't have the QR.
We don't have the QR code.
Yeah.
No worries. I'm just gonna share that with you. But I mean, in the end, most important is our website and our docs.
Yeah.
I can share the link to the Telegram group on the chat, live chat. So.
Top. Thank you very much, Lucas. And
Grazie mille.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you too.
It was a pleasure to have you in the audience for ask questions, and we'll see you in the next one.
We see you right in the next meetup. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.